Now, from the nation's capital, here's the Pentagon Channel's ATS in brief.
The U.S. paid tribute to more than 60 Medal of Honor recipients this weekend in a ceremony aboard USS Constitution in Boston Harbor. The honorees and their guests were treated to an operatic version of the national anthem and a 21-gun salute. They were each given a Medal of Honor flag by their primary next of kin or a top-ranking member of the military. The Medal of Honor is America's highest military award.
Constitution arriving.
Today we pay tribute to these brave men and women, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, who through sheer force of will either saved their comrades from the unforgiving savagery of war or inspired them to victory through unimaginable feats of sacrifice.
More than 3,000 people have received the Medal of Honor since its creation in 1861. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld is in Nicaragua for the Defense Ministerial of the Americas Conference. He arrived Sunday with his counterparts from more than 30 nations. Last week, he was in Europe to meet with NATO leaders. The Secretary wrapped up those meetings Friday in Slovenia, where they discussed details of NATO taking control over all troops in Afghanistan. With the transfer of authority, NATO will command 30,000 troops in Afghanistan. The U.S. will remain the largest troop contributor in the overall mission, with 12,000 troops stationed there. The recent uprising of the Taliban in Afghanistan comes as no big surprise to coalition officials working with the Afghan security forces.
It's a response to the government, to the effectiveness of the government through the institutions of the Afghan National Army and the Afghan National Police. Both of these organizations have been growing stronger in numbers as well as professionalism and capability in being able to take the fight to the enemy.
Command Sergeant Major Wood stresses the most important component in the fight right now is the Afghan National Police. That's why the coalition is mentoring them in almost every district in the country. It's the end of an era at Naval Station Keflavik, Iceland. Over the weekend, U.S. forces permanently withdrew from the facility after more than 50 years. The United States has had a large military presence in Iceland since World War II. During the Cold War, the country's strategic location allowed U.S. naval vessels and aircraft to patrol the North Atlantic for Soviet military activity. Naval Station Keflavik has been home to about 1,200 active-duty Air Force and Navy personnel, as well as 4 F-15 Eagle fighter aircraft. You can see more about the Iceland closure on Around the Services at PentagonChannel.mil.
Around the Services, weekdays on the Pentagon Channel.
It's time to turn over the watch. The words of Commander Kevin Flanagan, senior officer of USS Austin, during his ship's decommissioning ceremony last week at Naval Station, Norfolk, Virginia. Flags, speeches, and patriotic music marked the occasion as officers and their crew said goodbye to Austin for the last time. Commissioned in 1965, the vessel became a key player in the nation's space program. More recently, it was deployed to the Persian Gulf as part of the War on Terror.
The average age of the sailor on board Austin is probably about 21 years old, give or take a couple of months. So with them being 21 years old, that means they've all joined the Navy post 9/11/2001. So they've entered service to the Navy with their eyes open.
The Austin will be replaced by USS San Antonio. A Tulsa area National Guard family recently juggled 2 different deployments to bring everyone together for a special night. Specialist Michael Russell Jr. was soon to deploy to Afghanistan, where his father is already stationed. All he wanted was for his dad to be at his wedding.
It was pretty important. That's why we're having it now, because I really wanted him to be there.
I told my first sergeant my son was getting married, so he'd let me come home so I could see my son get married.
I'm proud that they're both here at the same time. I was beginning to sweat it wasn't going to happen.
Mrs. Russell also said the wedding memories will last a long time with the family. Specialist Russell is heading to Afghanistan for 10 months, while his dad will be deployed to Iraq by the end of the year.
To find out how you can watch the Pentagon Channel where you live, contact your local cable provider.
PSP share prices for Monday, October 2nd opened at $11.57 for the G Fund, $11 even for the F Fund, $14.70 for the C Fund, $17.24 for the S Fund, and $20.15 for the I Fund. For the Pentagon Channel, I'm Army Sergeant Lee McMahon.